Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our webinar this afternoon on Unpacking VCE Business Management for 2023. My name is Cain and I'm the National Webinar Manager for Cambridge University Press. Before we begin, in the spirit of reconciliation, Cambridge University Press and Assessment acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. Please know this webinar is being recorded and will be distributed by email to all those registered in the next few days. You'll also receive a link where you have the opportunity to give your feedback on your experience and choose your free book for your attendance this afternoon. You're welcome to ask questions in the Q&A box during the webinar. However, if you would prefer to wait until the end, you can ask any questions during the live Q&A session with the authors and Cambridge team members. It is important to note that this evening's webinar has a large number of attendees and there will be limited time for our Q&A. So please feel comfortable to add any questions as they come to hand and we'll answer what we can prior to the Q&A session. I'll be detailing pricing and availability dates following the Q&A session, so please stay tuned for that if that's what your question pertains to. Before we begin, let me first welcome our Victorian Sales Manager, Emma Kapler. If you could pop your camera on for a moment, Emma, so everyone can see your face. Emma will be responding to any queries that come through the chat box throughout the webinar. So anything that's related to sales or price and availability, she'll be responding for you. So let me also introduce you to who is presenting this afternoon. And I'll begin with Gillian Summers. She is an education consultant who's regularly presented professional development sessions for teachers and student revision lectures in the area of VCE Business Management. Gillian's been actively involved in consultation, auditing, reviewing and assessing for the Victorian Curriculum and Assessment Authority, VCAA. She edited the business management section of the VCTA journal, Unpack, for many years and regularly contributed to the journal and the VCTA annual conference, Conview. Previously, she was the senior business management teacher and vet coordinator at Trinity Grammar School in Kew. She's also a member of the VCTA Advisory Committee for Business Management. We also have Julie Cain. She's the campus principal of the senior school at Mount Waverley Secondary College. She's tutored pre-service teachers at university level, is on the board of directors of the Victorian Commercial Teachers Association, VCTA, and currently holds the position of president. She's an experienced VCE Business Management, Commerce and Humanities teacher. Julie's spent many years assessing VCE Business Management exams and is a regular presenter at teacher professional development sessions and the annual VCTA Conview conference. She's also a regular contributor to the VCTA Compact Teachers Journal and develops assessment materials for a number of organisations. Debbie Sekula has worked in Victorian secondary schools for over 20 years with extensive experience teaching VCE Business Management, Legal Studies and English. Debbie's worked in curriculum leadership positions for many years, leading the development, documentation and implementation of the Victorian curriculum and managing the implementation of VCE at school level. Debbie's a member of the Business Management Advisory Group of the VCTA and is a mentor to early career business management teachers. She's a contributor to the VCTA Journal Compact and is an experienced VCAA assessor for VCE Business Management exams. Rebecca Jepson is an experienced business management and commerce teacher, a qualified careers practitioner, and has been a VCAA assessor for business management. Rebecca is a member of VCTA Advisory Committee for Business Management, contributing to the VCTA Journal Compact, and is a regular presenter at the VCTA Annual Conference, Conview. Without further ado, let's get started. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our session explaining our VCE Business Management 3rd edition book. The new 3rd edition VCE Business Management books have been written by Julie Cain, Debbie Sekula, Rebecca Jepson and myself, Jill Summers. As a writing team, we have worked very hard to bring what we consider to be a fantastic set of resources for both you and your students to use. I am going to start the explanation of how we have structured the books for both Unit 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Firstly, we have ensured that each chapter in both books closely aligned to the 2023-2027 Business Management Study Design. We also felt that having a consistent format for each book was important, as it would help both teachers and students to feel confident that the books provided a very useful tool to their learning process. Following my explanation, Julie, Debbie, and Rebecca will then continue to outline other features of this third edition. For each of the 4 units of study in Unit 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, together with their respective areas of study, we have inserted an overview, which we have taken directly from the study design. By including this overview at the start of each area of study, we believe it will assist students to focus on the key knowledge that will be studied in that particular area of study. When starting to study an individual area of study within the 4 units, a chart has been included, which lists the chapters that cover that key knowledge relating to that particular area of study. This feature will assist students when revising for an assessment task, as it clearly states which chapters they need to look over and complete any revision activities and exam preparation activities in readiness for their assessment. In addition, at the start of each chapter, there is a chapter overview, which provides a brief overview of what that chapter relates to. We have an easy to follow layout where each chapter has the key knowledge and learning intentions stated in a chart. The key knowledge dot points are contained in numbered sections. These key knowledge dot points have been taken directly from the study design. At the start of each chapter, we have provided a Kickstarter activity. This activity was designed to engage students in classroom discussion related to the topics being covered in that chapter. Many of the quotes chosen are exposing students to think laterally about a topic. You'll notice that the one on screen relates to stakeholders and corporate culture. For students who benefit from a visual representation to assist in their understanding, a what's ahead diagram is provided, which highlights the main sections of the chapter. And you'll notice there that this one relates to marketing, and it sets out the 4 particular dot points. As mentioned before, the key knowledge and their respective learning intentions are set out in a chart. Key knowledge dot points have been linked to the generic key skills stated in the study design. You'll notice that the one on screen relates to stakeholders and corporate culture. And then, as I stated earlier, the numerics there for each section within that particular area. At the end of each chapter, a successful criteria chart is included. The intention of this chart is to allow students to work through and check off each key knowledge dot points and the key skills and how they relate to the activities, revision activities, case studies, and examination preparation questions that have occurred in each respective chapter. Finally, students can indicate by ticking the yes or no box if they have completed the tasks. This chart will be useful for students when revising for both internal assessment and when preparing for the end of year examination. I will now pass the explanation over to Julie. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Julian. I'm one of the authors for the VCE Business Management Cambridge series of textbooks. I'm going to follow on from what Jill's been talking about and really focus on how you can use the case studies in the activities with your students in class. In Unit 3, there's 40 case studies and 44 activities. And across Unit 4, there's 43 case studies and 27 activities. And while this seems a lot, it's been done deliberately. It allows you to focus in on the areas that your students need assistance with and enables you to reinforce the key skills and knowledge that you believe that they need. All of the case studies and activities have suggested answers to support you and your students. The activities in the case studies allow you to do a number of things. You can set activities in case studies for homework as well as in class, and it really allows you to differentiate for your students. And we know that in a classroom we have students with different abilities and different skills, and this enables you to really support them. It provides choice and the ability to tailor activities for students at their point of need and for the different classes that you may have. Multiple exposures, we also know, is a really good way to reinforce that key skills and knowledge. And there is an opportunity to extend knowledge and apply the theory, which is incredibly important when they're doing assessment. The textbook also allows students of all levels of ability to really access the curriculum and access the activities and case studies that we have as well. And you'll see right through the book, there's examples of them. They're set out very clearly. So we've got a case study here from Unit 1, and there is an ability for students to quickly have a look at the information, and then there are different types of questions that they can use and they can access as well. Every chapter also links into the key skills and knowledge that are required. And we're really proud of the way that we've broken this down. I think that the series has always been very good at allowing students to really apply their knowledge, but we've taken it a step further. So we've got a case study analysis that's clearly labelled for all of you. There's task and command words, and they vary from those lower order to the higher order questions. And the case studies are really clearly identified so that you and the students know that that's what they're going to complete. And there's also opportunities for them to extend and apply their knowledge further. Each chapter also has activities that reinforce their understanding. So it's a great way for students to take the knowledge that they've got and be able to apply it. And we know that that's important as they get into Unit 3 and 4. So here's a couple of examples. So a little bit of a scenario so students can describe, and then they can apply and make some recommendations based on the information that they've got in the activity and also what they've been studying during that chapter. And there's another one that focuses on them going through and doing a force field analysis, which is really important that they're able to do that as part of Unit 4 now. The review questions are at the end of each section, and I think this is a really valuable tool for you and for the students. So rather than wait till we get to the end of the chapter, there's an opportunity to chunk that information and for them to go back and really check and make sure that they understand it before they move to the next area. And there are scaffolded questions in there to be used. So there may be students that need to do all of them, or some students that have a fairly good understanding, they're able to really go to those higher order questions. And you'll notice that in every part of the textbook and the review activities, there's the digital quiz that they're able to do as well.
Hello, my name's Sekula. I'm a leading teacher at Mount Waverley Secondary College, where I've been teaching business management for a number of years, and I'm also a co-author. We do understand that business management attracts a range of students, and this edition in particular aims to provide information that is accessible while providing ample opportunities for a flexible delivery that will suit students who need scaffolding and literacy support, while offering opportunities for enrichment and challenge to those students who are seeking greater opportunities with their learning. The end of chapter activities are scaffolded so that all students will be able to find some level of success. Teachers still have the opportunity to set activities that best suit their students. The definitions activity at the end of the chapter can be set to confirm student understanding of the key terms that were explored in the chapter. Advice regarding developing a summary offers the opportunity for students to create a series of notes to refer to for revision. Examination style questions have been developed at the end of each chapter for Units 3 and 4. These questions are a combination of entry-level and extended response questions focused on the key concepts explored in the chapter, the relationship between these concepts, and applying their understanding to a case study. Questions can involve several layers, as is the case with the final exam. Questions are developed in line with the task terms of the study design and include mark allocations that allow students the opportunity to develop their responses in line with expectations of both the question and the mark allocation. Again, we have developed suggested responses for teachers and students to refer to. In place of the examination style questions, the Units 1 and 2 text offers an extension question or activity. These questions are also designed for students to explore the chapters, key concepts at a deeper level and assist preparing students for Units 3 and 4. The extension question can be done individually or in small groups, and teachers could easily have their students report their findings to the rest of the class. A new feature for this edition focuses on supporting students in revising an entire area of study, featuring a range of revision tools that can be utilised in readiness for upcoming assessment, as well as the end-of-year exam. To assist students to visualise relationships and develop a sense of the bigger picture, business management teacher Sonia Musgrove has designed concept maps for each area of study. The concept maps are excellent, with really clear and engaging diagrams, along with some key phrases that demonstrate how concepts connect to create improved understanding for students. This is really useful, as in the concept maps are really useful for students of all abilities, but especially for the visual learner. For each area of study, there are 3 or 4 questions, exam-style questions, that provide advice on how to unpack a question, a sample response, as well as a marking guide. The unpacking a question provides a breakdown of how to approach the question in terms of the task terms, the study design requirements, and other features and skills required to successfully unpack the question. Students are provided with some hints on how to successfully manage the question. It's effectively a brainstorm, and sample response is actually given that helps to model the structure of a response, the level of detail or depth required, as well as the marking guide.
Hi everyone, my name's Rebecca Jepson. I'm a co-author on these new editions of the business management textbooks, and I'm here to run you through some of the online interactive resources we've got available with this new edition. So firstly, we're going to watch a quick video from the marketing team at Cambridge University Press. Then we're going to have a bit more of an in-depth look at a couple of the features.
This short video will walk you through what to expect in the interactive resources for Cambridge VCE Business Management 3rd edition. This is a sample chapter from the Student Interactive textbook for Units 3 and 4. Students will see all of their navigation icons along the left-hand side of the screen. Once the teacher has set work for a class, shortcut links will appear in this dashboard page. To navigate to the required chapter section, students can use the interactive textbook icon to bring up the contents, or they can use the course content button at the top of the page. Teachers who have access to more than one course will be able to change to other textbooks from this menu. Students and teachers can download any activities from the margin or through the Resources tab. Key terms are highlighted and rollover glossary terms provided. Bookmarks and bookmark folders can be added at any point of the content, providing revision shortcuts. Activities and case studies are embedded in the content and also available for download. Videos are available to view in the platform and can be watched at full screen mode with optional closed captions for viewing without sound. Each section includes a quiz made up of auto-marked multiple choice or drag and drop questions. Review questions for every section are written response questions with a workspace to enter answers. Teachers can allow access to the suggestive responses so students can use the 4-point self-assessment tools and the red flag for questions they found difficult. The Resources tab is an easy way to access all the assets for a section. The chapter review includes exam-style questions with marking allocation and a downloadable checklist for students to keep track of their progress. The Scorcher competition in the chapter reviews is a timed online quiz that allows students to compete on a leaderboard. The online teaching suite includes the full student interactive textbook along with a powerful learning management system. All student activity is recorded in the online teaching suite, including task progress, review question responses and red flags raised, plus scores on auto-marked tests. Auto-marked tests can be assigned from a bank of multiple choice questions, and practice exams can be created from a bank of past VCAR questions and VCAR style questions. Instructional videos are available on our support pages. Task sequences can be set for students by choosing from a range of activities. Teachers have access to a wide range of downloadable activities, suggested responses, case studies, teaching programs, and more. A range of report types are available for teachers to monitor student progress. Head to our support pages for a range of how-to resources or contact your education resource consultant.
So many different activities, resources, revision tools that are there for our students to use. Now let's have a look at some of them in a little bit more depth. After this presentation, if you'd like to have a bit of a look at some of these in a bit more detail, you can go to the Cambridge website, click down here on Preview Interactive Textbook, and we can have a look at one of the chapters that is available. So we've got Area of Study 1, Chapter 1 here. If you click on one of the dot points, which align, as we've seen previously, with the key knowledge dot points, you can see everything available for that chapter, including the revision quiz at the end. And these are made up of a number of different types of questions, drag and drop, multiple choice, lots of different things. We can also have a look within the review section at the Scorcher quiz. Now, Scorcher has 645 questions in the Unit 1 and 2 book and 656 questions for the Unit 3 and 4 book. So that's a lot of consolidating going on there for the students. So we can have a little go at playing Scorcher here. I'm just going to put in some random answers just so we can go through it really quickly. Oops, I think I spelled that one wrong. We need a few false ones here. Just write anything so we can see what happens to them at the end. Bad typing I've got today. Okay, so that's our 10 questions done. Now, one of the very exciting features of this Scorcher activity is that students can pull out the ones they got wrong and see what the answer should have been. Spelling is important in the typed ones there. They can also see the ones that they got correct for a bit of extra revision. Now, something else we're going to have a look at is how we can make one of those exams or tests that were shown in the video. So this is our dashboard we get to see when we log into the textbook. And I'm going to come down here to tests and exams. And we're going to down here create a new one. So I'm going to create a test. I'm going to choose my own, which I might do an exam, my own questions here, create a PDF version. That means it's going to create a document I can print out and give to my students. So I might be doing a Unit 3 Outcome 1 practice SAC. You can see I've done a previous one before there. Choosing our business management textbook from the Unit 3 and 4. And we can either put everything in there if we were doing, say, an exam for the end of the year, or I'm going to do a SAC just for an outcome. So I'm going to just choose Area of Study 1. If you were doing revision questions, for example, for students, you could also just choose one of the key knowledge dot points. As mine's a SAC for the end, I'm going to choose all of them. Now we can also choose what type of questions go in there from VCAR. So this is all of the VCAR questions from the 2017 to the 2021 exams. VCAR adapted means there might be some other questions in there that have been changed to meet our new study design, or VCAR style are originally written questions. And we've got 105 originally written questions in there. Also in there are some questions from previous editions of Checkpoints that were relevant, and there are 112 of those in there as well. So that gives us a total of 411 questions and answers from which to choose. I'm going to put them all in there so we can see them all. Now it shows us here how many marks each question's worth and the level. We can choose level 1 up here for lower level task words, all the way up to 3 for our more difficult level task words. I did keep them all in there though, so we can see all of them. So if we want to see the whole question in full, then we just click on the down arrow and see the whole question. It's also telling us here whether it was a question that appeared in a real VCAR exam. So I am going to choose a few of these to add into my SAC that I'm creating over here. I'm just randomly choosing a few here. I want some level 2 questions and maybe some level 3 questions because we want to have a combination of difficulties in there. And this is giving me a running total here of how many marks my SAC is worth. If I didn't like a question, I can also remove it out of there. So I'm going to save that SAC. Now when I hit print, it's going to generate for me what the finished product is that I can print and give to my students. So the time's automatically put in there based on how many seconds are usually given in the exam for the number of marks. And it's also done the formatting for us and put in the lines, which again is based on the number of lines in the SAC. So that's nice and easy for us to print straight out and give to our students. So they're 2 of the features of our new interactive textbook, which I think are going to be very useful for teachers. So please hang around to the question and answer section and make sure you ask any questions you'd like to know about these new features. I look forward to seeing you there.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for that presentation. Let's begin the Q&A. So welcome back to all of the authors back on screen. While we get started with the chat box, so if you're thinking of some questions, please pop them into the chat box. We've got a few questions that we've got here that we can get started with at least. So one of the first questions here are, what are some of your favourite case studies and why? Whoever would like to jump in on that.
Yeah, look, I've really enjoyed doing case studies that have actually gone out beyond a website or another sort of source. So I actually went out and had a look at Harry the Hiro, which is a fantastic business located in Richmond, and had a tour there, which was terrific. I had an interview with someone who works at Network RV, which is a caravan building place. And so they provided some terrific designs and also some insight about how they were managing through COVID and beyond COVID. And I also did an interview with
a business owner for a business called My Source that's located in Vietnam. And that was really interesting to see how outsourcing actually works in an overseas country. So yeah, they're ones that I thought were fascinating for me and not material that was easily accessible.
Awesome. Thanks, Debbie. Anyone else got something that comes to mind?
Well, I try when I go out and about, in the community to find businesses that, I just find them interesting. There was one when I was travelling through back area of New South Wales called Bandicoot, and it was a couple of women who live on a farm, but they wanted to design Australian clothing for, with clothing with Australian animals on it for children, which was, just something interesting. So I think it's just trying to find interesting ones. We can all find Coles and we can all find Woolworths. But it's always just things that are a bit different. It's always good to find those.
Thank you so much, Jill. So I do have another question here. Do you have a favourite digital feature and why? Does anyone want to respond to that one?
I might jump in on this one. So I had a lot to do with creating our digital resources in this one. And I think it's a bit of a tricky question because I think it depends on the perspective. So from a student perspective, I think the Scorcher is going to be the best. It's a really good, interactive tool that they can use to go back over, consolidate the learning, and because it changes it up all the time, it stops it being predictable for them, which is really exciting. And then from a teacher perspective, I would love the exam generator or the assessment generator, because I don't know about you, my 12s are coming up to their SAC, and so I've been scrounging through past SACs and things to find, practice SACs, practice questions, practice ones to give them in class. So this is going to be really, really good for teachers because you can just go and all the questions from all the past exams are there with the answers already. They are originally written answers to the exams, and there's lots of others as well. There's like 400 of the things. So you can just go in there and go, oh, what's the task word I want to work on that they perhaps haven't been going so well? Or what's, the length of answer that I need to have a bit of a practice on in trying to figure out how we can do it that way. So that generator, I think, is going to be really a time saver for staff and teachers to go, oh, I don't have to start scrounging through all my different resources and sources. I've got them all in one bank. I can just go search by the things I'm looking for, bang, done. It turns it into a document. I've just been, formatting stuff. It formats it for you. There it is, ready to go. So I think that's probably going to be the most useful and favourite one, I think, of teachers.
Right. So another question here, what are the new assessment requirements for the new study design and how have you approached this in the books?
Well, I can take that if you like. We've made sure that in the teachers' resources, there's going to be the course outlines, just a suggestion of how to run, the timing of the course. But also I've included up the top, pardon me, the fact that VCO is now requiring that you must use at least 2 different assessment types throughout your course. So you can't just use, structured questions, which is great. You've got to be able to use a variety right through your assessment. So in that we sat down and we tried to sort of work out what we thought could be appropriate assessment tasks for there. Also the timing of it. We sort of looked to sort of see, well, how is it going to fit in timing wise? And of course you must do your timing to meet your schools. Various, sort of some schools have holidays, 2 weeks, one say 3 weeks at another time. So it's the teachers who must sit down and plan their year to make sure that they've got that. So it goes back to that, the planning. It's so important that you plan out your unit. And hopefully what we have done by structuring it this way will help you greatly.
Thanks so much, Jill.
Yeah, if I could just add, sorry, I was just going to add to Jill's that in the exam generator, it does have case study questions as well as short answer questions in there as well. So there are at least 2 different forms of assessment you can pull out of that too.
That's great. Thank you. How would you use the new Kickstarter feature?
Julie, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I might answer that one. I think the Kickstarter is a really good way to hook the students in at the beginning of a new topic, the beginning of a chapter. So it's really a way to engage them and perhaps to think about what the quote is, and then there's some questions there that will generate some discussion. So that might be some think, pair, share, it might be small groups, or it could be people just putting forward their different ideas. So I think it's just a really good hook at the beginning of the lesson that can be used.
Great. How have you used the VCAA command terms?
Who wants to take it?
Thanks, Jill. Great.
Oh, all right, it's me again. Well, what we did was we made sure that when we wrote the questions for activities, case studies, the review questions, and everything, that we have used the generic skills that they're asking, and we've related it to the key knowledge for that particular area. We've also made sure that we've given examples of how to unpack questions, what's required of a question, you know, and to help students to understand that particular thing, because it's very important. And we all know when we're marking students' works, nothing is more sort of disheartening for us as teachers to look at it and go, well, they knew it, but they just didn't apply the answer to the right level, or they gave us too much and they've taken up too much time and, you know, it's impinged on another question. So we've tried to help in that way.
Great. Thanks, Jill. I've got a question here from Nemi. Tell us about Quizlet.
Quizlet. I have to get the terminology right in my head for all of them now. Quizlet is the one that's at the end of every chapter, I'm pretty sure. So that's the one that in the book, when they're doing the book, there are end of chapter questions they can do in the book. And then there's another little one that's a multiple choice at the end of each chapter, revision little activity as well. And they can change. So sometimes they fill the blanks, sometimes they are multiple choice, true, false, drag and drop, match the name to its definition. So it's just another online interactive way that students can consolidate the learning from that chapter, because I don't know about you, but my kids like to play little games to do things to really consolidate. So it's a good way if you've got students perhaps who are better visual learners, you know, that interactive sort of way to revise just what was in that chapter. And it's actually each section of a chapter. So a chapter, you know, might have 1.1. So there's one just at the end of each little section of the chapter as well. So that's only a small amount of knowledge that just is consolidated before moving on to the next one.
Awesome. Thanks, Rebecca. Can teachers share the interface, or is it separate per class? So, for example, I would share an exam that I generated via PDF or via the interface where they are saved or created. And this is from Janine.
So that's a bit of a more tricky one. And that information of how to use the interface is going to be further communicated by Cambridge. That information will be coming out with your rep, is a better way to have a look at how to use those interfaces particularly. Cambridge is going to be releasing onto their website very shortly the ability for teachers to have a go at using those interfaces and see how they could work. So I have to say at this point in time, I'm not exactly sure on that very technical question of sharing interfaces, but it's definitely a great question for your rep from Cambridge.
Good. Thank you so much. What planning advice would you give to teachers?
Do you want to take it, Debbie?
Sure. Look, I tend to plan out my semester completely, and obviously in line with what's happening with the school program. And then I start to break down what I want to do each week. And of course, I need to negotiate that with someone else. And I find, especially for a new edition, that it gives you a real opportunity to differentiate. So with planning, I would certainly offer like a core of material that needs to be undertaken, coursework that needs to be done by students, but then I'd offer some extension questions and make sure they become a discussion question, perhaps for the last lesson of the week, or perhaps I'll be doing a sculpture activity, but I try to incorporate some level of interactivity at the end of a week's teaching.
Great, great. Can you tell us about the revision sections? Would anyone like to jump in on that one? It's a good question.
I might jump in with that, because at the beginning of the chapters, we've got the learning intention and success criteria so that students can track what it is that they're going to learn. So the revision questions, particularly the checklists and things at the end, really give them that opportunity for them to check in to see, do they understand what the learning intention, have they been able to meet the success criteria? So I think for teachers, it's a good way just to quickly check how students are progressing, but it also puts it on the student to actually go through and work out what they understand and perhaps what they might need to go back and either redo things or revisit the book or ask their teacher. So it's a really good check-in just to reinforce and consolidate their knowledge as well.
Great. So we do have another question here from Matt Dunn. Do the generated assessments come with answer guides?
Oh, 100%. Yes. Yes, they do. So after, and I couldn't quite show it on my little video there. So after you've generated your exam, when you go back to the dashboard again, down the bottom where it has the create button, it'll have another button that says generate answers. And you push that and there they are. On a whole sheet just for you.
That's great.
I can't remember if I put that in my presentation. I might have. But yes, 100%. You don't have to figure it out. It's there.
Excellent.
And they're all originally written answers.
Wonderful. Does the digital textbook subscription for the student give the full online resource access, including the Kickstarter, the chapter reviews, etc.?
I think that's Emma.
Yes, I think it is. That is certainly a yes. Everything is part of the resource itself.
I'm sorry, I was so busy answering some chat. What was the question?
I can read it out for you,
Okay,
Emma.
thanks.
It is, does the digital textbook subscription for the students give the full online resource access, including the Kickstarters, the chapter reviews, etc.?
Absolutely. They have access to everything. Teachers obviously have access to more features for the online teaching suite, is like the exam generator and reporting and that type of feature.
Thanks for jumping in, Emma.
Thanks.
So we've run through on those questions. Is there anything that any of you would like to say to finish off? Anything that comes to mind? And of course, in that time, there might be any more questions that come through, but it looks like we've got to the end of all of those questions there. Well, I suppose we can wrap up the Q&A session there. And if you do come up with any questions, you're welcome to pop them in the chat box and we can respond to them at any time. But of course, you can also get in touch with your rep as well. And at any time, they're able to respond to any of your questions as well. So thank you, everyone. Let's roll to some slides. I've just got a few slides to go into to give you an idea of pricing and availability. Thank you so much. Wonderful. So if we could move to the next slide, please. Great. So just a breakdown of pricing, nice and simple, $89.95 for the print and digital. The digital code, $69.95, and the teaching suite, of course, $199.95. To the next slide, please. So you'd be happy to know that the page proofs are available. All online. So if you haven't already seen them, have a look on our website. There is a landing page for the BizMan product, so you'll be able to see it there. If not, you've likely received an email. We're certainly letting everyone know that they're available and able for you to view. And publishing dates on those items as well. We've got the units 1 and 2 in October and the units 3 and 4 in September, which is really exciting. The next slide, please. So a quick intro of your reps, if you don't, or if you haven't met them before. Here's all their beautiful faces again. And Emma at the top here, Vic Sales Manager, who we've already met. But if you're in these regions, Carolyn is the North, Kim is East and Southeast, and Marcus looks after the West. These are your reps to reach out to if you're interested in getting some more information about the textbooks. All of this information is online on our website, so know that you can go out and search for this really easily and get in touch with them. They will be happy to discuss these books with you. And on to the final slide, please. Thank you. So just another reminder about this email that's going to come out to you. So most importantly, feedback. So we actually utilise that feedback. We learn so much from the feedback. So it's a really important part of receiving information from you. Please let us know how you found the experience, and it gives us information to then get better at what we're working to achieve here. But also you'll receive the opportunity to get your free book. So choose the book that you want as well. And all of that will come in an email. It's not immediate, so don't expect the email to arrive in your email box 5 minutes after the webinar. It'll be in the next few days, so keep your eye out on the email and you'll see it coming in. But of course, any questions at all, please reach out to your reps, check it out on the website, and thank you all so very much for coming along this evening.